Hello again. It should be Friday the 8th of October, and Friday the 8th of October is part of Dyslexia Awareness Week, and as a dyslexic, I thought we should chat about it. So what is dyslexia? According to the 2009 Rose definition of dyslexia, which is the currently most accepted definition of dyslexia, dyslexia is a learning difficulty that primarily affects the skills involved in accurate and fluent word reading and spelling. Characteristic features of dyslexia are difficulties in phonological awareness, verbal memory and verbal processing speed. Dyslexia occurs across the range of intellectual abilities. It's best thought of as a continuum and not a distinct category, and there are no clear cut-off points. Co-occurring difficulties may be seen in aspects of language, motor coordination, mental calculation, concentration and personal organisation. These are not by themselves markers of dyslexia. A good indication of the severity and persistence of dyslexic difficulties can be gained by examining how the individual responds or has responded to well-founded intervention. Basically, it's a specific and unique way of interacting with words, both written, spoken, and the way those two things interact. I was diagnosed when I was 11, but my diagnostic assessment that I have to give people when they're like, prove that you're dyslexic, is from when I was 16, because sometimes you have to do it several times, because like the one you get when you're 11 is not the same one that you need for when you apply for exam accommodations when you're doing your GCSEs, is not the same one as you need for doing your A-levels, and is not the same one as you need for university. So I had to do several of them. So like, according to all of the tests, I am very dyslexic. Okay, cool, now we've got that out of the way. I actually wanted to talk about the tools I use as a dyslexic author to make my life just that little bit less difficult. Because I really sort of thought about what I wanted to talk about for Dyslexia Awareness Week, because I've not really talked about it before. Like, I throw out the fact that I'm dyslexic, but I've not actually talked about the ways that it affects me that much, or like, anything like that. And I don't think it should be a barrier. If you want to be an author and you have dyslexia, I don't think it should be a real barrier, but I know that there is some extra hurdles, shall we say, like I have experienced them. And yeah, so I sort of wanted to talk about my own experiences and what I have used to ease my authoring with dyslexia. So I've broken them down into categories. We're going to start with the most expensive / the ones I got from the DSA while I was doing my degree. Tools. I've written tools with 3 O's there, haven't I? It's fine. So the first thing is called Text Help Read and Write Gold. It's a computer program. I love this thing. It is my absolute favourite. I started using it when I was in college. It was provided on the college computers, and it was just the best thing. And as soon as I went for my DSA assessment, DSA is Disabled Students Allowance, as soon as I went for my DSA assessment, I was like, I have used this, I love this, I would like a copy, and they went, yeah, alright. So I love this for 2 main reasons. One, the spell checker on Text Help Read and Write Gold has a word definition thing, so you're not just stuck looking at all of these different spellings going, those are all words. You actually get those, the definition, so you're looking at, like, if you want kernel, for example, colonel, kernel, for example, if you're thinking like kernel and you've written it like popcorn kernel, but you want like kernel rank in the military, it will give those 2 definitions as 2 separate things. So like it will spell out kernel and then popcorn, and then it will spell out kernel and say military rank, and you can use that. And the second reason that I love Text Help Read and Write Gold is the read aloud feature, which is not perfect, but it's still really nice because it means I can listen to my own work read back to me by someone whose eyes don't turn words into lightning storms, ninjas or snakes. All real things. The second expensive / DSA provided tool is ClaraView screen tinting software. That good scotopic sensitivity. It's not something everyone with dyslexia struggles with, but personally I thrive on low contrast. Dark purple and black is the ideal combination, but anything with a blue undertone works pretty well. A lot of the stuff that I print when I'm like, when I was doing presentations at uni, all of my like PowerPoint slides would be grey text on a white background. And people were like, dark grey, it's like 1 shade lighter than black, but it was just so much easier to read. The next category is more reasonably priced tools, which is like, just, yeah, they're less expensive than those 2. I would love to have put Dragonspeak on my DSA provided tools, but I didn't actually get Dragonspeak. My wife got Dragonspeak, also a disabled student, and I used it while it was still usable, but the Windows 10 update means that the version we have is no longer feasible. So, reasonably priced tools include Scrivener. People have lots of opinions about Scrivener, and I'm not here to tell you what to do. But if you're thinking about Scrivener, try before you buy. They have a 30-day free trial, and slightly longer around NaNoWriMo events. Try before you commit to the expense of it. Also, Nano brings with it discount codes, so like, again, be strategic about this. I like Scrivener because it means I don't have to write in order. I can drag stuff around, I can have lots of things on the screen or very few things on the screen, and like, it just makes it easier. Like, I can make the text boxes that I'm reading in the exact right sort of size without compromising on, like, if I'm in Word and I want my text box to be like this wide, from hand to hand, if you will. If I'm in Word, let's put this down. If I'm in Word and I want my text box to be this wide, I have to shrink the size of the text to make it fit there. In Scrivener, if I want my text box to be this wide, it will automatically readjust the lines, so the text and the zoom function stays at exactly the same rate, but you don't have to sort of scroll sideways to get to the next bit. Really like that. I know that's such a tiny part of the features of Scrivener, and I'm sure there's another program that would do that also, but that's the best dyslexic thing about Scrivener for me. That and typewriter scrolling. Love me some typewriter scrolling. Typewriter scrolling basically is where it will keep the bottom line of your text at the middle of the screen. So like, if you're typing, it will keep that text there and everything else will just disappear upwards, so you don't have to be like scrolling down the page to get it to eye height. The second reasonably priced thing for me is Spotify Premium. You may be thinking, how is Spotify Premium a writing tool? But I can't write unless that little voice in my head is distracted. And I don't know if that's the dyslexia, because there's been some changes in definition since I was diagnosed, because that was one of the things that was first told to me, like when I was diagnosed at 11, but since 2009 that doesn't exist anymore. The little voice, the little annoying nonsense part of my brain no longer exists in the definition of dyslexia. But yeah, either way, I need the tunes, and I need new ones on the regular, and I need there to be no distracting adverts, so I pay for Spotify Premium. I think it's worthwhile for my personal experience. Again, not trying to tell you what to do, this is just something that makes my life easier. If you also need the tunes, Spotify's quite a good one. Now we're going to go on to the cheap/free tools, and by cheap/free I mean sometimes these things are actually free, or sometimes these things have a free version that it has limited usage, as it were. So, cheap/free tools. Software jumping, which is more of a technique than a tool, but still. The ability to put my work into different formats and screen images is endlessly helpful. It's one of the reasons I like Scrivener, as I've already described, because you can change up the display a lot, but I also swap to Google Docs, and I also swap to Word, and I also swap to by hand, and I also swap like onto my wife's computer, and I have a dual monitor set up so I can move it from screen to screen. It's all good stuff. It sounds like such a ridiculous thing, but just sometimes putting it into a new context can make the words into words instead of awkward squiggly things. Second cheap/free is Otter.ai and Google Docs speech to text. Well, the days when the written words aren't wording, I just speak it down. I like Otter.ai because while it's heavy on the full stops, it puts in the punctuation for you, and it also saves the audio file of your, well, it's supposed to be for meetings, but it also saves the audio file of your text. So if you've got some awkward names like Rogerson, real character in one of my books, not in Mary Ellen Breaking the Curse, real character in one of my books is called Rogerson, and just Otter does not like it. It also doesn't like Nat, who is in the same book, Nat, N-A-T, who is the main character, so that's awkward. But ultimately, because the audio is also recorded, it's very easy to go back in and figure out what you were trying to say. It does, however, have a limited free usage. It's a limited number of hours and a limited number of meetings that you're allowed to have. Meetings are just how long you can record for. Like each recording session is a meeting. It's got a limited number that you're allowed to do per month. So a lot of the time I'll also do it on like Google Docs on my phone. But the problem with doing it on Google Docs on my phone is that it doesn't have the punctuation, so it's just a stream of consciousness. The next one is Hemingway app. It's a browser thing. Hemingway app checks your text for overcomplicated sentences. Oh, you're really dyslexic if your sentences aren't overcomplicated with 100,000 commas and only 2 full stops in a paragraph, just like Charles Dickens. Nearly said Darwin, different conversation. Don't know if Charles Dickens was dyslexic. Irrelevant. It checks for passive voice and adverbs, and you don't even need to know what an adverb is, really, for it to check it for you. Which is freaking sweet, because I'm still not entirely sure what an adverb actually is. I know that it ends in ly, but not every word that ends in ly is an adverb, so... And not every adverb ends in ly. That's fine. Also gives you an understandability grade, which is in, like, US school grades, and what US school grade would you need to be to understand this text, aka the lower the grade, the more understandable and easy to understand. No, that's the same thing twice. Your text is compared to a higher grade. You don't have to have any understanding of the terminology. It just highlights the stuff in different colours to show you where it finds the potential issues, lets you decide if it's okay, and it has a recommended number of each of the things. So like a recommended number of passive voices and adverbs dependent on the amount of text you put in, and you don't have to get rid of them all. You can just get rid of the ones you want to. And I mostly use it to check for overcomplicated sentences because those pop up in red. And finally we get onto the priceless tools. The ones that don't have an actual cost monetarily, but they are completely invaluable. They are so useful. So the first priceless tool is self-care and patience. And I know it sounds like sort of hokey and like I'm going, dyslexia is a gift or whatever, but that's not what I mean. Shitting all over yourself for having a particularly dyslexic day or situation is not going to make the dyslexia go away. It's not going to do anything but make you feel worse than you already do. So having patience with yourself is really important, and taking the time to take care of yourself is really important, because I don't know if you know this, hopefully you do, but stress does affect your dyslexia. You will suffer the symptoms of your dyslexia more if you are more stressed than if you are less stressed. So taking care of yourself and your mental health is a really important part of being a dyslexic author. It's a really important part of everything. It's a really, really important part of being a dyslexic author, because if you are one stressful event away from squiggly, indecipherable words, you gotta get that stress under control, or you'll never be able to write anything ever again. Or rather, you'll never be able to read anything ever again. Ah, shoot, I should have talked about audiobooks. I don't know what category that would have gone in, but they're really great too. Everybody says you need to read voraciously to be a writer, but nobody said you can't read with your ears. Audiobooks still count as market research. Don't be ashamed of using them or other tools you find helpful. If you love WhisperSync, which is like a Kindle thing that you can do where you buy the audiobook and you buy the Kindle book, and you can like sync the audiobook with the Kindle book so you can swap between the two, then absolutely do that. Have no shame in this. There is nothing wrong with using an audiobook instead of a physical book. Fun fact, haha. This book, Memory Called Empire by Arc de Martin, not sure if that's how you pronounce it, is a really good book. It's really great. I love it a lot. Could not read it physically. I had it on audiobook anyway. I stood on a piece of paper. I had it on audiobook anyway because my wife had said that it sounded really interesting, so I got it on audiobook and I really liked it. And then I tried to read the second book, A Desolation Called Peace, in physical form, and I could not get past the first sentence because it is really complex language. But you know what? I then went back and looked at this and it's exactly the same, so guess what I'm going to do? Audiobook. And the second thing, the second absolutely priceless and valuable thing, is supportive family, found family and friends. My wife is my lifeline. My mum is an absolute star, and my friend Stu also has dyslexia. These people and more people are instrumental to my ability to do this authoring thing. They are always ready to remind me that not being able to do my own proofreads or not having a brilliant grasp of grammar by myself doesn't mean that those things are impossible or that they that my book writing will never be up to a proper standard. It just means I need help getting there. And let's be honest, everybody needs that kind of help. That's what editors are. I just need a translator first. I need someone who can undyslexic my prose before I send it to a professional, because ultimately I think I would actually break a professional's brain if I just sent them my draft. So yeah, and like, I'm not saying that it has to be your actual family. Found family is the best thing ever. And like, I have a good relationship with my family and I still think found family is the best thing ever. And like, there's just something so special about being able to ask people who are closer than friends, but your friends, to help you with these things, because that is what a found family is for. So that's all the tools I can think of right now that I use as a dyslexic author. Obviously there is other stuff that is not related to my dyslexia that I haven't mentioned here, but yeah. If you have any questions about dyslexia, feel free to ask. Like, I may not have the answer, but maybe I will, who knows. I was going to make a video about how to write dyslexic characters, but I literally don't know. So, you know, there's that. Although, to be fair, all the this is a hot tip for you, all the dyslexic people I know, every single one really loves books, so maybe don't make them hate books. Speaking of books, my book, Mary Arlan Breaking the Curse, an adult fantasy with action-adventure, heapings of magic and a delightful, slow-burn, heartwarming romance, is available for pre-order. It's got a very pretty look. Each page is crafted to hold your attention without tiring dyslexic or ADHD eyes, and if you get it on certain e-readers, you can change the font to Open Dyslexia, which is my favourite font, and I did think about printing the book in that font, but then I thought that would look a bit too weird and would make people put it down, so I haven't. If you're interested, I might make an omnibus dyslexic version of Mary Arlan Breaking the Curse. That could happen. Maybe one day in the future when I've finished the series. Do let me know. I did pick a font where the L's don't look like I's, regardless of whether it's capitalised or lowercase. And although the full stops are smaller than I might have liked, all full stops are smaller than I might have liked, so. And yeah, the dots on the I's are quite wide, which I find really helpful for some reason. Maybe that's just me. I have every intention of making an audiobook, but those things take time and money, so I'll keep you updated as that comes about. It will happen, I just don't know when. I will be bringing out the first chapter in audio right here on YouTube in... before the book comes out. I have a date in mind, I can't remember what it is. So keep your eyes peeled for that, or your ears, as it were. All the links for where to find and support me and buy the book are in the description box, not including the like and subscribe button, which are like technically next to it. Maybe that's just me. I have every intention of making an audiobook, but those things take time and money, so I'll keep you updated as that comes about. It will happen, I just don't know when. I will be bringing out the first chapter in audio right here on YouTube in... before the book comes out. I have a date in mind, I can't remember what it is. So keep your eyes peeled for that, or your ears, as it were. All the links for where to find and support me and buy the book are in the description box, not including the like and subscribe button, which are like technically next to it. That includes my Instagram, my website, my Ko-fi account, and yeah, all of the links to my book, including Goodreads, Storygraph, and a universal book buy link.